Why choose a Sleep Number smart bed?
Can I make my site softer?
Can I make my site firmer?
Can we sleep cooler?
Sleep Number does that. Cools up to 8 times faster and lets you choose your ideal comfort on either side. Your Sleep Number setting. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. It's the final days of our Black Friday sale. Recharge this season with a bundle of cozy, soothing comfort. Now only $17.99 for our C2 mattress and base, plus free premium delivery. Prices higher in Alaska and Hawaii. Check it out at a Sleep Number store or sleepnumber.com today.
We all know those GLP-1 injections work wonders, but that price tag almost gave me a heart attack when my insurance denied coverage. I was staring at a choice between paying my mortgage or paying for weight loss. Talk about a rock and a hard place. Then I found Elevate Health compounded semaglutide at just $58 with payment plans that don't require a second mortgage. Same medication, same results, but a price that real folks can actually afford. Visit joinelevate.com today. That's JOINELEVATE.com. Your wallet will be as happy as your waistline. This medication is not FDA approved.
It's Sunday, May 19th, and this is Doing the Thing. I'm James Gilmore, and I'm here with great pop culture debate, Resnyak.
Hello.
And it's a Fandom Thing's Erin Marlow.
Hello.
We're going to be talking about everything happening in our worlds this week. How are you, Erin and Eric?
I'm awesome. Thank you for asking. It's a Sunday afternoon here in sunny New York, and couldn't be better.
And Erin, what about you?
Yeah. I'm great too. Yeah, it's also a sunny afternoon here in Denver, Colorado. So, yeah, it's a great day. So I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. Well, if you're listening live on Wizard Radio Station, where we do the thing live every Sunday from 8 o'clock UK time, you can get involved in the conversation by tweeting us or DMing us on Instagram and Twitter at Wiz Radio. Text us at no extra cost, only standard network rates apply. 07807 183 538. Email station at wizardradio.com. And all of our details are on the website wizardradio.com. And I always feel a bit awkward saying to tweet us, but this week it was made official. Like, I know it's been called X for a while, but I don't know if either of you use X. I just feel so dirty saying it. But as of this week, any references to Twitter, like it used to be that if you went to twitter.com, it still worked, but now it's X now. Eric, you're rolling your eyes.
I'm fully. It's not just my eyes that are rolling; it's an entire body roll, James. So I think we all were like, "Man, Musk is going to ram this into the ground" when he took it over. But I don't think any of us could have properly appreciated just the level of bamboozlery, buffoonery, shenanigans that we're dealing with. It's absurd. It's absurd, and he has destroyed the global public square. Come on, man. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry, Erin, I cut you off.
No, I completely agree with everything you said. Like, I refuse to call it X. I will not call it X. Like, even when I say where to find me, I just can't do it because it, like you said, James, calling it makes you feel dirty. It does, but it also makes me feel like, oh, I don't want to give in to this man.
Yeah.
It's the way it feels. I'm like, if I call it that, I'm just giving into it. So, yeah, it's just Twitter to me has been ruined. I don't know.
Yeah.
It is the kind of MAGA hat of social media, right? Just calling it that.
Yes.
I feel like you have people that call it Twitter and people that call it X, and it's not the same. They're talking, it might be the same application, but it's not the same space. I heard an interesting thing. I have no idea where I heard it. I think it was on a podcast or something. And somebody said that if you ask most billionaires or really successful people, the secrets of their success, they never know what the thing is that made them successful. Even if you look at a sports person, they're obviously incredibly talented, but they are amongst the top spot. Serena Williams trains with people who are as talented as her, but they're not Serena Williams. And this is one of the reasons, why if you ask, these really successful people about how they got so successful, they'll say, I wake up at 4 o'clock every morning. And they give these ridiculous answers because they themselves are often trying to find the cause of their success, and so much it's just things that are outside of your control. And I feel like the other side effect of that is you get these really successful people who were very successful in one thing that they don't quite know how they got that successful, then trying to do other things using the same roadmap. And Elon Musk, in his defense, has had a few big successes. I mean, he was involved in PayPal early on, and obviously SpaceX and Tesla. These are very successful, if not, they are controversial companies in their own ways. But social media is just a whole nother kettle of fish. Eric, if you ran X/Twitter, what would you do?
The number one thing I would do is immediately upend any of the rules that Musk put in place after he went on there. And I would work at rebuilding the public trust, because one of the side effects, I think, of all of this is we all kind of de facto used Twitter as a way to communicate. I mean, when news was breaking, I wasn't going to the news channels. I was going to Twitter. I was going to reliable news channels or sources on Twitter to find it. But that's where I was getting lightning fast, instantaneous information. I cannot do that anymore with Twitter because I can't trust anything that I'm finding on it. Excuse me, X. And additionally, I don't know about Erin, and I'm sure the same thing is true for Wizard, but as a brand, if I can be so large and grand as to call my podcast a brand, they have put so many controls around our messaging now that there's almost no engagement. There's almost no reach. They have neutered individual creators. If you're not paying, you're not playing. And that, to me, completely flies in the space of what Twitter was supposed to be when it was founded.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest downfalls for independent creators, or creators that are, they're not like the millionaire, celebrities, is it's very hard to find your voice now. And that used to be my primary social media, was Twitter. And now I dread going on there. Plus, the big thing I would get rid of is the fact that anybody can pay for a check mark.
Yeah.
The thing with the check mark was verifying that person was real. And now anyone can do it. And plus, every reply, everything you tweet now has one reply in there that's like, see bio for, and it's like all these X-rated replies, all these, so much spam, so much stuff like that really wasn't as big a problem before. And of course, there is, the return of so much racism and everything. It's just, it feels unsafe to be there, frankly.
What do you use now, Erin, instead of Twitter?
I use Instagram the most. I'm on Instagram the most. I'm trying to get used to Threads, because Threads to me feels like more of a replacement for Twitter than, say, Instagram. And as far as posting stuff would definitely be Instagram, but I'm on TikTok a lot more as far as using it to get the news like you would on Twitter. And then of course that that might go away here in the United States. So.
Well, I tend to think that the UK is only a few months behind America on anything, but you mentioned Threads. This is the app, because I've started to take a stance of not wanting to try new things. So I have never downloaded Threads, but I'm kind of regret this, because on Instagram you get the things on Threads that you might like, and there's always stuff on there that I'm like, oh, I click on it to read the full thing and I can't. But I feel like it had this massive launch and it's gone really quiet. Is that what it's been like actually on the app?
Go ahead, Eric. Go ahead.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, I think Threads rushed in to fill the void that was left by Twitter's implosion, but they didn't have a product that was ready yet. So, for instance, there was no such thing as hashtags at first. If you didn't specifically follow an account, you were never going to get their content, which is wild to me, right? This is not some concept. It's hashtags. And they have done some iteration of it, so now that they at least have something approximating that. But I think it was a mistake. I understand why they wanted to be first to market with their version of the Twitter killer. Unfortunately, it wasn't ready to kill Twitter. And we've dabbled in Threads. I don't find the interaction there yet the way that I would like to. I would argue that nothing has replaced Twitter, and it's really the people who are suffering for that are the consumers and the actual creators, where everything is so fragmented right now in social. Like, yes, we're on Threads. We are barely still on Twitter/X. We'd love to get off of it. Instagram, TikTok. We found some success with Mastodon, which is a much more niche type of geekier social media that we actually have. We're finding engagement and people are very welcoming over there, but there's not a ton of usership. But there is nothing that replaced the juggernaut that was Twitter. And now I think all of us are paying that price. And it's really sad to me.
Yeah, and Threads, that the hashtag thing that you were mentioning is so weird on Threads because you can't really do like multiple hashtags.
Right.
You could just do one. And it's like you press the hashtag key and you put in one hashtag. So then you have to be like, okay, which one should I choose? What's going to work the best? But you still don't get as much engagement. And the most engagement I have seen is in Instagram stories. That's where I see the most engagement is in stories. Not even on the posts, but on the stories.
Agreed.
Yeah. No, I mean, there is something, a statistic from Instagram that like stories and the message part, like the direct message feature, is where most of the engagement on Instagram goes to, which is why when people complain about the feed and changes they're making to being more video than photo, Instagram just turns around and like, yeah, but you're not using feed. Nobody actually goes on the feed anymore. So I think that's interesting. I do want to move on slightly from us complaining about Twitter and talk about something that is massive and taking over the world more and more, and that's Taylor Swift. I describe her as if she's a virus, but I am a subscriber. I've not taken the vaccine on Taylor Swift. I did for COVID, to be clear. What are the... I'm just going to stop talking. What are the opinions of our group today on just all of this coverage of the Eras tour? And I ask this now because I know the coverage has kind of slowed down over the past couple of months while she's taken a break. But as of last week, the Eras tour is back on and she's on the European leg.
Well, I think I've always been kind of immune to Taylor Swift, so...
Interesting.
You have natural immunity.
Yeah.
I do. I mean, I appreciate what she's done. I appreciate how successful she is as a woman. I appreciate that. But I've just always kind of been immune to her. I mean, I know people that love her and adore her and go to all the things and do the friendship bracelets and stuff. But so it is kind of amazing, though, the fandom that she has around her and the followers that she has around her, and the whole fact of people going to other countries to see her in concert is pretty remarkable, really.
I mean, I would feel like Erin, as the host of It's a Fandom Thing, you would understand possibly more than most the kind of power of the community ultimately that she's built.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that, you know, fandom gets a bad name a lot unfairly, frankly. And I'm not saying there aren't bad seeds in every fandom, because there are. But if you don't have the fandom, then you're not going to be as successful as you are, frankly. And fans will like drive your brand. They'll drive people to see it. They'll drive the product. They'll help you build your brand, and they spread that word around. They get you to be like, if you are and Taylor Swift isn't, but if you're like a niche product and stuff like that, a fandom, if you've got a passionate fan base, that is everything. They have saved shows. I mean, like, even before there was, like, the internet was powerful, like the show Roswell from eons ago on CW. That show was on the bubble was on the bubble to be canceled so many times. And the fans sent, like, Tabasco to the studio to try and get it picked up, and it worked. So fans deserve more credit, I think, than they get. I'm not saying there aren't bad fans, because there definitely are, but yeah. I
just wanted to say though, Erin, you kind of said there that Taylor Swift she's obviously a very mainstream, not a niche product now, but let's not forget that she is a country star who broke into pop in a massive way. So I think what you're describing has happened with her as well. Eric, what do you think?
I'm a diehard Swiftie. I'm not even going to try to hide it. I would love to see her live, but every time I try to get a ticket to one of her shows, gone, not happening. But I own every one of her albums. I buy them, like actually buy them. Who buys an album anymore? I don't know. I do, only for Taylor Swift. And I think I was going to bring up what you did, James, is that for her, she's actually had multiple fandoms. She segued from being really a child star in country music. She started out very young. She had an entire fandom there, which she arguably abandoned. At least some of them felt abandoned when she moved into pop music with 1989. And now she's exploded with this whole other secondary one that what I find fascinating about her, it's cross-generational. Like Taylor Swift has fans who are in their 50s down to their teens, probably younger. That's rare in a pop star these days. And what I think she's been more successful than most is she built these parasocial relationships with her fans through social media in a way I haven't seen with many others. And I was going to bring this back to our Twitter conversation. I saw an article recently, where have all the celebrities gone on social media? I don't know if that can happen anymore with the current landscape of social media, but it did with Taylor, and she leveraged it better than anybody. She's been very skilled at that and deserves more credit.
Yeah.
That's very true. The parasocial thing, especially. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it interesting because I understand that, as you said, Taylor Swift fans have these insane parasocial relationships, but actually I see Taylor Swift as somebody that doesn't give a lot of herself away online, because like she posts like 6 times a year and it's a massive event when she does, but she only ever really posts like commerce information. A new album's coming out, buy this limited edition, these are my tour details, versus other celebrities that post so much about their every minute of their lives, and influencers. And I would say that if you were only getting into Taylor Swift today, I don't know how easy you'd find it to actually like build a parasocial relationship with her online, because I just feel like there isn't that much that she's giving. I don't know, Eric, if you disagree.
I think that is true now. I think when she was coming up, there was much more. She was sharing. I mean, we knew the name of her cats. Let me be honest. Like, let's just go to that point.
True.
We know her favorite number. You know what I mean? Like, we know all these things about her that we would know about a friend. And I know that sounds crazy and stalkerish, and I swear she's not my baby reindeer. But I think now she has pulled back, and I do think that is in part a response to the oh my God, how can we miss you if you won't go away mentality that has plagued her for at least the last year, which, by the way, I do not subscribe to at all. Please never leave us, Taylor Swift.
I think that's interesting. I did want to briefly just talk about, I'm seeing Taylor in August on the Eras tour. And something I saw online and something that I experienced, I went to buy Taylor Swift tickets expecting to pay a down payment on a mortgage to get tickets, and I got really good tickets, £170 a ticket, which is expensive, but not for for 3 hours. That's actually pretty good. In America, it is insane, and you've had this narrative over the past 2 weeks in particular of American Taylor Swift fans flying to the European dates, because to get a European ticket and flights and accommodation has been cheaper than just buying a ticket to see Taylor Swift. I'm going to ask a really obvious question, but does more need to be done in America about what's happening with concert tickets?
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. It's ridiculous. Like, I was trying to find something to go to. I'm going to a concert in June, and it was actually a gift to me and a present that I'm going to go see the Pixies. And this is a band I have followed forever, and I'm beyond excited. And those tickets were expensive, but any concert you go to is like, it's so ridiculous. And even for like the worst seats, you're going to be paying so much. And I remember when you used to be able to get them for like $20 or something like that and get really good seats. And now you can't do it. And it's so ridiculous because it's like, I don't know, it's like they only want a certain set of people to be able to enjoy this stuff anymore. And it's gross.
I think within our, I'm sorry, James, go ahead.
No, after you, Eric.
I was going to say, in our lifetimes, Erin, we have watched it go from the $20 something decent stadium seat concert ticket to unaffordable to, by and large, most of the fandom. And I do think that is deliberate, partially on the artists who are trying to maximize the cost, right? As shows have also admittedly gotten far more complicated from a technical perspective, but also there's greed in behalf of the venues and all of the wraparound businesses. And that's why there is actually an act right now, the Ticket Act, that is going through Congress that will at least try to address the hidden fees part of it, which is a huge issue that Americans are dealing with, but it's not addressing the resale market, which I think is the biggest problem. When you go to buy a ticket for a concert now, they are snapped up instantly by bots who then just take up most of the inventory and then resell them, a month or so before the concert for 4 or 5 times the prices. And it's just, if you're a fan, you can't actually listen to the music you want to see and support your favorite artists.
Yeah, and those people that are buying them up, I am not kidding about this. Somebody told me their friend's partner, that's how he makes a living.
Yep.
Is by doing that, buying up all those tickets and then selling them, and he makes a lot of money every year. And that to me is just kind of, that's dirty.
It is.
That's just really dirty.
Well, we're going to continue this conversation because there is a law in France which we can discuss, which has successfully tackled this head on. But we'll be back after this. Welcome back. This is Doing the Thing. Now, before the break, we were talking about Taylor Swift and Eras tour and tickets in general. And there's a law that's been passed in France very successfully that has made it illegal to resell a concert ticket for more than face value. So the law actually says that you cannot profit from the resale of concert tickets, and the fine, if you are caught doing so, is in the hundreds of thousands of euros per instance. So it definitely makes it worthwhile not doing it. The facial expressions of both Eric and Erin as I'm saying this are like, wow. I'm like, Erin, what's your thoughts?
I'm like trying to think if that would ever happen here. That's like, I'm thinking like fines in the hundreds or thousands, but in the that's, oh my gosh, that just blows my mind. And if we could do something, just something to try and control it where it doesn't keep getting worse and worse, because I feel like it's just getting worse and worse and worse each year. And if people are not going to suffer anything for it, then it's never going to end. It's just going to get worse. So it just makes me so sad because so many people will never get to experience a concert ever, which is so sad to me because, I mean, I'm in Denver, Colorado, and we have one of the best concert venues in the world, Red Rocks. And that's a place where you used to be able to get general tickets for a reasonable cost. And if you camped out not camped out, but you could stay there for hours. I remember doing this for John Mellencamp years ago. And we got 4th row from the stage, and we paid for general admission. And this is at one of the best concert venues ever. And there's no way you could do that now. And probably somebody would have resold those tickets for like hundreds of dollars. And yeah, it just makes me very sad and mad.
I think it's interesting because the UK, I'm not entirely sure what the laws are, but there has been a massive clampdown on this. There's a woman who has just been jailed in the UK for reselling tickets at extortionate values. But it's not specifically against the law to the extent that this week when I went to Olivia Rodrigo on Friday night, which crazily, my Olivia Rodrigo ticket was the same cost as my Taylor Swift ticket, which suggests that Taylor Swift was too cheap and Olivia Rodrigo was too expensive. But I was looking at, where my Taylor Swift seats are, and I was like, just out of interest, what could I get for these £170 tickets? $2,000 if I put them on resale. And I'm going to Taylor Swift. But, at numbers like that, you do start to think, okay, I've got 2 tickets, that's $4,000. Yeah, actually, mathematically, that's suddenly you're asking, 4 holidays to America and back, or Taylor Swift. The math starts to change. What do you think, Eric?
So I think there's two different things going on here. Like if for an individual person who happens to have tickets and you're having that moment, like, you know what, people really want to see this show. I want to see it, but like other people are willing to pay me so much more. Do I sell them or not? It's kind of like, let's make a deal versus the whole apparatus that Erin was talking about early, where there are resellers who buy up the stock and sell them. And that's their business. That to me is where I have an issue. The individual person in a free market system who wants to resell something, one person doing that, you know what, I don't love it, but go for it, versus someone who is capitalizing on creating the demand, right? Because that's what's going on with these resellers. They're buying up the minority of the stock. The average fans can't buy a ticket, so therefore they have no chance, but you use the term extortion, James, to be extorted for those prices. That's fixing the system. That's not a free market. That's riggery, and that does need to be legislated in America. I'm all for it.
Any other thoughts on this, Erin, before I'm going to throw to you to move on?
Well, the one thing I will point out, because it's interesting, because like going to like conventions now, like actual like fandom conventions are more expensive. There's Creation Entertainment throws ones for specifically Supernaturals where they're very expensive, and they get more and more expensive. But what's interesting is when fans sell their tickets there, they usually will sell them at a discount. And it's usually because, well, they have to sell them or something, or they get better seats. But then another thing they do is like the gold passes will come with like autographs. And so they'll sell the autographs off to kind of reimburse themselves, because the gold tickets are like $1,200, $1,500. And so they'll sell the autographs off of that. So I just want to point out that I think there's a way that people can do that where it can be moral. Or like if you're doing it just one time, or if you're in desperate need for money, because everybody is in desperate need for money, I feel, then I can see it. But when you are centering your whole business on that, to me, it feels like you are punishing people.
I think that I really agree with that. I think it's so sad that this is kind of just where society has gotten to. And Erin, you said something, I think, before the break around the idea that people might just not be able to go to concerts. You know, I tend to think that if I'm going to a concert and they want me, and let's say it's an arena concert, you know, it may be £100 for, if that artist is going to do 2.5 hours and got 1 or 2 support slots. Actually, personally, I think 80, 90, £100 is about right. Like that, you know what? I don't have to see this artist. It's world-class entertainment. I've fortunately never had to pay for a festival ticket before. I've only ever been to festivals really for like a day. I think I camped at one once, but it was for work. So I've never known how expensive festival tickets are. And then I heard about Coachella and I heard about Glastonbury tickets. And I thought, what? Why? I mean, I get it, because festivals actually don't make much money. Like, festivals are really hard business. The artists are really expensive. To headline Lollapalooza is something like $2 million you get paid. It's insanely expensive to run these things. But you're charging thousands of dollars for people to attend. I don't understand how Coachella and Stagecoach and Glastonbury and Reading and Leeds and Wireless, these multi-day festivals that sell out every single year, and you have kids who have no money and who are complaining that they have no money spending this money on tickets. It makes you think you just don't know, you don't understand the economy and the news is lying. Because how's every concert where the ticket costs $200 selling out? How are there that many people that can afford it? And I think the answer is they can't, but they're pressured into going. Yeah.
I think it's a great point. And I think about, you know, when these started with like Woodstock and like Monterey Folk Festival, right? And those were not expensive tickets. Those were people who were camping out in the mud, and it was an experience, and it created almost a mystique around them that I think has gone on to Lilith Fair, Lollapalooza you mentioned, even the Woodstock 99. Let's not bring that up. Actually, that was a disaster. But I do think there's a cult almost around them, and I don't mean bad cult. I mean like there's the kind of cachet. Like I was able to go to Glastonbury. I was able to go to Coachella. That people are perhaps living beyond their means because they want to have that experience. It's not so much about the music, it's the experience and the cachet that comes with it, which I think is interesting, but yeah, it's not sustainable.
Yeah.
Definitely. Well, let's move on, and Erin, I'll pass it on to you.
Well, I'm going to talk about something that I think is really, really happy news. And this is for people who are fans of Supernatural. I'm sure you've talked about it, heard about it. It was this thing that broke on Thursday. 2 cast members, DJ Qualls, and Ty Olson, DJ announced on his podcast that he's engaged to Ty Olson. And DJ plays a werewolf on the show, and Ty Olson plays a vampire, Benny. And DJ's character is Garth. And they were like, it's so funny because with that fandom, there's so many couples that people like ship and want together, and actors that are like, there's all these, conspiracies and all this stuff. And this one couple that have basically been tweeting or dropping hints that they have been a couple for so long, announce it, and nobody knew. It was just like this whole fandom thing of like, wow, we didn't know these 2 people were in love, and it was right in front of our face. And I don't know if it's because they just never kind of picked up on that. Like, DJ was out, but Ty wasn't really, and Ty had been married and all this stuff. So I think it might have been that, but it was just a nice moment in that fandom that can be so toxic, of everybody kind of coming together and celebrating the fact that these 2 people are in love. And DJ said on his podcast, and I'm going to grow old with him. And it was just this really sweet moment. And then people, of course, posting GIFs of Dean Winchester from there saying in an episode, you might call it a werepire, like mixing a werewolf and a vampire. And so all these things that for someone who loves fandom and is involved in that fandom and knows how toxic it can be, to see people just celebrating the union of people and 2 people that just love each other was just a nice rarity. And it just was like the happy moment of the week.
What is Supernatural about, Erin? Because I feel like I'm literally on the Wikipedia page right now, because this is a show I've known about. I did not know it went on for 15 years.
Yes. Longest running genre show. Mm-hmm.
That's
Longest
crazy. Can you give us like a kind of Sparks Notes synopsis of what this show is about?
Well, Supernatural is about 2 brothers, Dean and Sam Winchester, who their mother was killed by a demon when Dean was 4 and Sam was a baby. And then their father went on the road with them and he became a hunter. Their father's John Winchester. And so these 2 brothers, they reunite in the season 1 and go on the road to hunt monsters. That's a very, very, very brief description of this show that has had people die and come back. People turn into demons. They've gone to hell. They've had angels. They have God. They've had God. So that's the briefest description I can give. But yeah. And its fan base is a fan base that originally they had marketed this show. They wanted to target young guys, young boys, young teenage boys. Well, much to their surprise, the fandom became this huge female fan base, even though the majority of the characters are male and women don't always fare so well on the show. But the fandom became so female-centered, and they were not expecting that. So I think it really surprised them. Like, if you go to a Supernatural convention, you'll see maybe like 99% women. So it's this show that was centered around these men driving this really cool classic car. And Dean loves classic rock and doing all this stuff. But women just gravitated so much to it. Yeah, which surprised them.
It's hilarious that they didn't think women would love this show because it's 2 hot guys who are frequently shirtless. Like, hello, who did you think was going to watch this program?
It's true.
And
they're very emotional.
Yeah, there's a really interesting thing though on I remember like a few years ago when Harry Styles started his solo career, and he got loads of praise for being one of the only male pop artists that actually respected his female fan base, and it's one of the reasons he's done so well. I feel like for a long time, and I feel like Erin, you can probably talk about this with your Phantom background, where a lot of, particularly in music, and possibly in TV and film as well, with male actors or male pop stars who have kind of like begrudgingly got this female fan base. And I feel like we have started to see a shift in the past few years, possibly because of Harry Styles and the music space. I don't know so much about in TV and film, where actually you're starting to see female fans and fandoms and communities get embraced much more. I know like in K-pop, BTS are really good at that, and it's no longer this like groupies, and more like, actually, you know, my career wouldn't exist if it wasn't for my female fan base.
Yeah, I think you see, I mean, honestly, I think Supernatural is a huge example of this. Going back to when Eric mentioned earlier the parasocial thing, the parasocial relationships with Supernatural are unbelievable. I mean, really, you'll have people that go to conventions over and over again, and they feel like they know the actors, but some of the actors do remember them. And like, you have the actor Misha Collins, who plays Cass, who's an angel on the show.
Of course.
And he the angel is Thursday or something. And so he's been on the show he was on the show season 4 until the very end. And he did this whole thing. He used to do this thing called Gishwiz, which was like a giant scavenger hunt. And he kind of figured out early on how to embrace that fandom. And he knew early on that a lot of the fandom was not only female based, but a lot of it is LGBTQIA plus. A huge portion of it is. And he kind of knew how to I hesitate because you'll get lots of hatred depending on how I word this, but he knew how to monetize that and do it well. And that's what a lot of people in that show learned, is how to monetize that fandom, but also to use it for good, because that fandom does amazing things. Like Jared Padalecki has a campaign called Always Keep Fighting, which is all around mental health, and he's been very open about his mental health. And so I think that fandom, I know you're talking about Harry Styles, but for me, that's where I see it the most, where women are embraced, because I still think there are a lot of places where you don't see that as a woman who loves horror. That is still a hard place to get embraced. Even though statistically more women watch horror, we're still having a hard time finding our voice in that community. So to be able to find your voice in that Supernatural community, even with the infighting and all of that drama, it still feels nice, because that's, unfortunately, I think, kind of a rarity still to this day. Like, I was warned early on in podcasting, do not cover Star Trek. I was told early on, don't do that as a woman. Don't do it. Don't do it. You are going to get so much hatred. And I finally did it, but because I was finally like, I don't care, whatever, bring it on. But I was warned about that. So I think it's still a problem. Yes, I think it might be a little bit better, but I think it's still a problem out there. So
it's so interesting. I feel like Erin, I didn't know that about horror, as a big horror fan myself, that it's consumed more by women.
Yeah, statistically it is, and women get, of course, different things from it than men do. And I think, for women, it does give, like, for me, it can be like, it can boost your, what's the word I'm trying to, but it can make you happier in a way. It
Your
can
serotonin?
Boost that. Thank you. Serotonin. Yeah. Yes, it can boost your serotonin. For women, it has been shown to do that. So, and it could be because sometimes in horror, you get to see the women win and succeed and beat horrible men. And that, I think, is where that comes from.
Yeah, we did a best horror film franchise episode last fall, and one of the things we realized in doing our research was the trope of the final girl has been something that goes back to Halloween at the very possibly even earlier. And it actually, like, when you look at it, the final character who's surviving in almost every horror franchise is a woman, and they're surviving against these horrible men, whether they're monsters or whatever. And there is something really empowering about that, even though most of the 20th century ones were more from the male gaze. Now I think increasingly we're seeing horror films from the female perspective, at least. And I find that really interesting. And I'm sorry, we probably went off topic there, but just
I think that's a really good point. As long as it's not the end of the third Halloween film in the new trilogy, because that is the worst film I've ever seen, full stop.
I liked it.
I literally, because I liked the first of the more recent remakes. I liked the first two, and the third one I literally felt like I'd been robbed. I'm like, why did I pay money for this?
I know that is the consensus. See, I love the Halloween franchise is my favorite. I collect Michael Myers stuff. I did lots of Michael Myers stuff. Like I have over 30 things.
Oh, wow.
And so I understand most people hated it, and I understand why. I didn't have a problem with it, but I understand why people didn't like it. But
well, we can continue debating about this, although I have a feeling we won't. After this next break, we'll be back in just a few minutes.
Welcome back to It's a Fandom Thing. I am Eric Resnyak from the Great Pop Culture Debate, and I am joined by Erin Marlow from It's a Fandom Thing and James Gilmore from Wizard Radio. And we are going to talk a little bit about Billie Eilish and her new album, which is called Hit Me Hard and Soft, if anybody has listened to it. And what's really interesting, first of all, I listened to it today. I loved it. I thought it was great. But the ecological perspective, this is something she's very leaning forward in her website, talking about. It's done through recycled plastic. It's done through recycled paper. She's being very specific. Even like the cassette cartridges are made out of recycled shells, like literal shells, not like tape shells. I thought that was amazing. And so I wanted to talk with this group about, do you think that it is a responsibility of artists increasingly to consider the planet and the ecosystem as we are in a consumer society, or is Billie kind of going outside the lines here? James, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because Billie Eilish in particular is an artist that speaks out about these issues more than most artists. I feel like the ones that are on my radar, like Billie Eilish is 1975 as well, have spoken out a lot. And, Coldplay, I think, too. I think it's really important. And I like that for Billie Eilish, it's given her like almost an issue to take ownership of at a time when fans demand that artists and celebrities have stances on things. Billie's really, in a way put her money where her mouth is, especially because as far as I'm aware, a Billie Eilish vinyl doesn't cost more than any other vinyl right now, yet, it's going to be costing her so much more money to be doing it this way. So I think that's brilliant. The pessimistic side of me goes, this is great. But the actual, and I love that Billie Eilish wants to make sure that her carbon footprint and the carbon footprint when her fans engage with her is green. But it's also, just one small thing, when in reality, the only way we're really going to tackle these big issues is if the main polluters, the governments and the big corporations, do more about it. And so in situations like this, I feel like we're kind of at risk of feeling like we've played our parts when all we've done is buy a Billie Eilish vinyl or cassette.
It's a great perspective on that. And I have to say, like, you talked about your own carbon footprints. My carbon footprint is a stiletto. But in all seriousness, it's true that we have to hold the actual mega polluters accountable, that it's really not just what you and I can do, although that's great. But it's these, I think there's something like 20 companies in the worldwide are responsible for the vast lion's share of pollution. One thing I did, because I knew that Billie was in a collaboration with Nike. And I thought to myself, I wonder if this ecological perspective extends to that Nike collaboration. And actually it does. Nike is also very forward leaning in its ecological practices. And I thought that was a great kind of like, she's walking the walk and talking the talk. But to your point, James, it's got to be more than just this one artist doing this. There has to be a movement around it that puts pressure on the main polluters. Erin, did you have thoughts on this?
Yeah, I think it's all our responsibility to do something. I mean, we kind of have to, but I do agree that, in order for any real change to happen, it has to be those top people and the top polluters doing something. And if we can put more pressure on them in ways of like, using products from people that are doing something or supporting those over other products, if you can, that kind of stuff. Because I think this is great what Billie Eilish is doing, but there's so much that needs to be done. So it's like, I think this is great, like to support Billie Eilish in doing this and to kind of make a point of saying part of the reason I'm supporting this is because of this. I think that can have an impact where people can hear that and go, oh, well, maybe I'll get more support if I do something, or kind of joining in, like making it almost a trend. And then if other businesses take note of that, maybe they'll be like, okay, we can, because everything's driven by money. So if we can make more money by doing the responsible thing, then maybe we'll jump on the bandwagon.
And greenwashing is a real thing, right? Like, this is a thing that's been going on for decades, where companies are like, oh yeah, we're so eco-friendly, blah, 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 but they're actually not. I don't see Billie as the end of the road. I see her as a domino in a sea of dominoes. And really what I'm hoping is that she's speaking for her generation. I think she's a great torchbearer for her generation. And I do think that if they can all rally behind this and make this an expectation of not only other artists, but businesses, then maybe we can get somewhere. But I take James's point that it can't just be, well, this one artist doing this. It's got to be a movement.
There's an interesting thing going on this weekend with Billie Eilish's new album where, and look, I love her and no slander, but Taylor Swift is trying to keep on the number one spot on the charts. And to do that, she has announced more new versions of the album that all have like one additional track to boost her sales, to prevent Billie Eilish from getting the number one spot. I mean, I don't think it's personal. There is like a narrative online that it is personal because Billie Eilish said something around how wasteful it is when artists put out multiple versions of the same album. Now Taylor Swift is doing that on the week of her new album. But I do think that, you know, if there was an artist that really wanted to make a stand and has the opportunity, you know, Taylor Swift, her sales alone have enough market share to be a small record label in the market share of music. If she decided from now on, we're going green on tour, my multi-billion-dollar selling tour, on my, you know, all my vinyl and my albums and cassettes and my merch and all that stuff, that would be an even bigger start than Billie Eilish, who's a massive global arena selling artist. Taylor, a global stadium selling artist, could take it to the next level. And I, as a fan, actually, like, I think it's a shame that she hasn't done that.
I agree. And I mean, Taylor's also been getting a significant amount of criticism for her private jet flying. Yep. Specifically, people have been calling out her carbon footprint. So I'm hopeful. By the way, when I read that thing on Billie's website this morning, it specifically seemed to be targeting Taylor with the comments. Like, it was very clear to me that she was specifically speaking about Taylor. But I hope this is the beginning and that it's a movement that happens across the industry. And I agree, James, Taylor would be a real change maker in that front.
I was wondering, Erin, as well, because I've actually never been to that's a lie. I've been to one fan convention. I went for a few hours. I was invited as press, and it was the convention for The Walking Dead, which is like an interesting place to spend a couple of hours. Because it was actually quite smelly. I'm gonna say it. It was quite smelly. But what I was thinking on a Friday night when I was leaving Olivia Rodrigo was the queue to get on the tube here in London to go home was insane. But like, everybody was taking public transport. And I thought, you know, okay, I'll wait 5 minutes to get into the station and just think about, you know, how we've avoided so much carbon dioxide from going into the planet by everybody taking public transport. I'm wondering if you're seeing more of that behaviour at fan conventions and events and even concerts, and fans more, I feel like, taking it into their own hands.
I think the biggest place I saw that was I was able to cover San Diego Comic-Con a couple of years ago as press. And that was my first time being there. And oh my, it's overwhelming. I mean, that is like unlike anything I've ever seen in my life. It was nice to be there as press because you get a little room to kind of just take a breather. But what I noticed there is, and it's you kind of have to, but for the most part, everybody is walking or taking public transportation there. And you've got this convention that has thousands upon thousands upon thousands upon thousands of people there. And so when you have that many people choosing to not drive in every day, because they do like sell off parking spots, but people are like, don't do that. It's ridiculous. Like, people in the conventions, like message boards and stuff, are like encourage people. They're like, no, use the bus system there, use Ubers, Lyfts, which I know is still doing the carbon footprint, but if you've got a bunch of people in one, or walk. I mean, we did a lot of that when I was there. We would Uber in sometimes, but a lot of times we'd be walking. And plus the other part of that is if you're out there and you're partying afterwards, it's also not only are you helping the environment, but you're also helping prevent other horrible things happening, you know? So I notice that I think a lot of fans do that, and a lot of fans have like, you know, campaigns around it, which is another way of empowering fandom, is by doing that. Because at a lot of these conventions, you're stuck pretty much in the same place. So you're also not going to be driving the whole time too. You're going to be going from one place to another, but you're walking for the most part. So I've seen pretty much, especially at San Diego Comic-Con, people very rarely driving, because it was, number one, too much of a pain to do it. And number two, just nicer for everybody else if you were able to just walk or take public transportation.
I remember when I was younger, my dad being somebody that just drives everywhere, even in London. A staple of going to a concert with my dad would be, oh, you're going to sit in the car for 30 minutes afterwards because you've got to get out of this car park and you've got thousands of cars trying to get onto one road. And it actually like dampened the experience because you've got all this energy from the concert and now you're just sat in a car doing nothing. And so I just, even for the fan experience, I prefer it. We are running out of time, so I'm wondering, Eric, did you have any other thoughts on this subject?
Not at all. I agree with everything Erin said. I've been to San Diego, and you don't drive in San Diego Comic-Con. I can't think of a more miserable situation. So correct. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, this has been so much fun, and the time has flown by. I want to thank Eric and Erin. Where can our listeners find you? We'll start off with Eric and then Erin.
You can find us at greatpopculturedebate.com. That's our website. It's got all of our episodes. We do TV recaps. We do top 10 lists, everything we've got there. And then we're also on social media and anywhere you listen to podcasts.
And this is Erin. You can find It's a Fandom Thing at it'safandomthingpod.com. And we cover everything fandom, pop culture primarily from the female perspective. And we drop episodes Wednesdays and Fridays. So
amazing. Thank you so much, both of you. And remember to catch new episodes of Doing the Thing live on Wizard Radio Station every Sunday from 8 p.m. UK time and on all podcast platforms from Monday morning. We'll see you next week.